Look, I know you've already heard phrases like, without suffering, there is no victory, that you have to work really hard to achieve something. And of course, effort is important. But the truth is, it's much better to combine effort with intelligence, because it's no use running fast if you're headed in the wrong direction. You know that friend who works day and night but never improves their life? They're running, but in the wrong direction. It's much better to stop, think, and adjust the route than to waste energy on the wrong path. I remember a friend who spent 5 years trying to start a business alone. She would buy, sell, deliver, and she was always exhausted. One day, she decided to ask for help. She hired someone, organized her time, and in 6 months, her profit tripled. She looked at me and said, "Why didn't I do this earlier? It's much better to divide in order to multiply." How many times have you done that? Insisted on doing something alone, only to later realize that it's much better to ask for help? How many opportunities have you lost out of fear of changing the way you do things? And it's not just at work, relationships too. Many people try to change the other person by force, but it's much better to accept and grow together than to live fighting, trying to mold someone. And in health, that's where the biggest mistake happens. People wait until the pain comes to act, when in reality, it's much better to prevent than to run after the damage later. Maybe right now you're thinking, "But I don't have time, I don't have money, I can't do it." And I tell you, it's much better to start small now than to wait for the perfect moment that never comes. A man wanted to learn to play guitar. He postponed it for 10 years, saying he didn't have time. When he finally started, he realized that if he had just played 10 minutes a day, he would have become a master years earlier. He understood. It's much better to start imperfect today than perfect never. What are you postponing now? Because I guarantee you, it's much better to act now than to tell stories of regret later. In your career, strategy is much better than brute force. In relationships, peace is much better than being right. In health, prevention is much better than treatment. And in life, it's much better to live than to wait. I know you've been through moments when you thought, if I had done things differently, my life today would be another one. Well, it's much better to create that change now than to keep dreaming and not acting. Don't wait for the right moment, because the right moment is the one you decide to act. And guess what? It's much better to do it now, even if it's small, even if it's simple. Want a summary of life? It's much better to take one step today than to wait for steps that may never come. It's much better to take a risk and learn than to stay still and regret. And you know what's the most incredible part? When you understand that it's much better to change your mindset, everything else changes on its own. Because everything you attract, everything you build, starts with the way you think. So remember this. It's much better to live than to just survive. It's much better to act than to wait. It's much better to try than to give up before starting. And now, answer me. What's the first change you're going to make today? Comment here, because I want to know. And I want to remind you every day that it's much better to truly live.